I am Jamie, 30 years old, and I work as an event planner. My brother's wedding is coming soon. I feel excited but also anxious. This is a big moment for him, and I want it to be perfect. I have planned many events, but this one is personal. Last week, I got the invitation in the mail. It looked nice, but something felt off. It was very formal, and it lacked a personal touch. There was no message from my brother or his fiancée. I felt slighted. I wanted to feel special as his sister. I put the invitation down and sighed. The day of the wedding arrived. I drove to the venue, a grand place with tall ceilings and fancy decorations. The flowers were beautiful, and everything sparkled. But as I walked in, I noticed the family dynamics. Some relatives were laughing and hugging. Others were busy taking photos. I felt like an outsider. I looked around the venue. The guests were mingling, and the music was playing. I tried to shake off my worries. I wanted to support my brother. I wanted to be happy for him. But my mind kept drifting back to the invitation. I felt unimportant. As the ceremony began, I stood with the other guests. I watched my brother walk down the aisle. He looked so happy. His fiancée was stunning. They made a great couple. I smiled for them, but inside, I felt a twist of sadness. I started to think about my own place in this family. After the ceremony, it was time for the reception. The room was filled with people. There was laughter, dancing, and joy. I felt the energy, but it did not reach me. I wandered around, trying to find my place. I was excited for the celebration, but I also felt lost. When the seating arrangements were announced, I felt a knot in my stomach. I was sat in the kitchen, away from the main event. I could hear the hustle and bustle of the kitchen staff. They were busy preparing food and drinks. I felt small and unvalued. I watched the other guests through the door. They were enjoying themselves, while I stood in the background. I remembered past family gatherings. I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. My relationship with my brother had been strained for years. I missed the close bond we used to have. I thought about the times we laughed and shared secrets. I missed those moments. I wanted to be part of his life again. But every time I tried to connect, it felt like there was a wall between us. As I sat in the kitchen, I pulled out my phone. I looked at the wedding contract I had prepared for them. I had worked hard to help them plan this day. But they did not fully use my services. I felt a mix of anger and determination. I wanted to talk to them about it, but I was unsure how. I debated with myself. Should I confront them? Would it hurt my business? I took a deep breath. I decided I needed to address the situation. I wanted my brother to see me as more than just a sister. I wanted him to see my work and my passion. I watched the kitchen staff moving around. They were focused and dedicated. I admired their hard work. It reminded me of how much I cared about my own job. I wanted to be valued for my skills, not just my role as a sister. As the evening went on, I felt the weight of my emotions. I wanted to enjoy the celebration, but my mind was racing. I wanted to speak up but feared the reaction from my family. The thought of my brother's disappointment made my heart race. Finally, it was time for the toasts. I sat quietly, listening to the speeches. My father stood up and praised my brother. He spoke about how proud he was and how much he loved him. I felt a mix of pride and pain. My brother deserved the praise, but I felt invisible. As my father finished, I felt a surge of emotion. I wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted to remind everyone of my contributions. I planned to make my own toast. It was a risk, but I felt it was necessary. I needed to express my feelings. I took a deep breath and prepared for what was to come. I wanted my brother to know that I cared deeply. I wanted my family to see me as more than just a sister. I wanted them to recognize my hard work and dedication. As I sat in the kitchen, I realized this day was not just about the wedding. It was about family. It was about connections and understanding. I wanted to mend what was broken. I wanted to rebuild my relationship with my brother. I could hear laughter and cheers from the main event. I felt a mix of excitement and fear. I knew I had to stand up for myself. I had to be brave. I decided that I would speak from my heart. I would not hold back any longer. As the night continued, I felt the urge to take action. I wanted to change the course of the evening. I wanted to make it memorable, not just for my brother but for myself as well. I stood up, my heart racing. I was ready to take the microphone and share my truth. I knew I had to do this. It was time to be seen and heard. I was Jamie, an event planner and a sister, and I would make my voice count. I took a deep breath and looked around the room. The laughter and music filled the air, but my mind was focused on what I needed to do. I had to speak up. I had to let my brother and the family know how I felt. But first, I needed to process what was happening around me. As I sat in the kitchen, the reality of my seating arrangement hit me hard. I was away from my family, away from the joy and celebration. It felt like I was hidden, like an afterthought. I watched people come and go, sharing laughs and stories. I felt like a ghost. The kitchen was busy. The staff moved quickly, preparing plates and serving drinks. I admired their work, but I also felt a sense of longing. I wanted to be part of the celebration, not just an observer. I remembered family gatherings where I felt included, where I laughed and felt loved. But today was different. My brother's wedding felt like a reminder of my place in the family. I thought about our relationship. We had been close when we were younger, but things changed. As we grew up, we drifted apart. I felt resentment and sadness. I wished we could go back to those simpler times. I kept replaying the invitation in my mind. It was formal and distant. No personal note, no warmth. It felt like a sign of how my brother viewed me. Did he see me as just an event planner? Did he care about our relationship? I wanted to believe he did, but the evidence felt thin. The kitchen staff moved with purpose, and I watched them with envy. They were involved, fully engaged in their work. Meanwhile, I felt stuck. I wanted to be part of the joy outside the kitchen. I wanted to celebrate my brother and his new wife. But I felt trapped by my own emotions. I thought about the wedding contract. I had put in so much effort to help them plan this day. But it seemed like they didn't appreciate it. I felt anger bubbling inside me. I wanted to confront them, but how could I do that without ruining the wedding? I glanced at the door to the main room. I could hear the music and laughter. I wanted to be out there, enjoying the moment with my family. But my thoughts kept pulling me back. I felt unvalued and overlooked. It was frustrating. As the minutes passed, I felt more isolated. I wanted to be part of my brother's big day. I wanted to share in the happiness. But how could I do that when I felt so distant? I had to find a way to connect. I remembered family gatherings from my childhood. We used to share stories and laugh together. I missed that connection. I wanted to find a way back to that closeness. But it felt daunting. The wall between my brother and me seemed too high. Suddenly, I had an idea. Maybe I could use this moment to bridge that gap. I could create a toast that would express my feelings and share my love for my brother. It could be my way of being part of the celebration. It could be my moment to shine. I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. I would need to be brave. I would need to be honest. I wanted to tell my brother how much he meant to me, even if it felt risky. I wanted to remind him of our bond, of the times we shared. As I sat in the kitchen, I began to think about what I wanted to say. I wanted to acknowledge his happiness and celebrate his love. But I also wanted to express my hurt. I needed him to understand how I felt invisible. My heart raced as I imagined standing in front of everyone. I could picture the faces of family and friends looking at me. Would they be supportive? Would they understand? I wanted to believe they would, but I was scared of the unknown. I felt a wave of determination wash over me. I had to do this. I would not let fear hold me back. I needed to speak my truth. I wanted my brother to see me, to recognize my work and my love for him. Finally, it was time for the toasts. I watched as my father spoke, celebrating my brother's achievements. I felt a knot in my stomach. I wanted to add my voice to the mix. I wanted to share my love and my frustrations. As my father finished his speech, I stood up. My heart was pounding, but I was ready. I walked to the microphone with purpose. The room grew quiet. All eyes were on me. I took a deep breath and prepared to speak. I looked out at the guests, and I saw my brother's face. He looked happy, but I also saw a flash of concern. I knew this was a pivotal moment. I needed to be clear and honest. I began to speak, my voice steady but filled with emotion. I told everyone how proud I was of my brother and how much I cared about him. I shared memories of our childhood, laughter, and love. I wanted to remind everyone of the bond we shared. But I also needed to address my feelings of exclusion. I spoke about my role as his sister and as an event planner. I explained how the invitation felt cold and distant. I wanted him to understand my hurt. As I spoke, I saw mixed reactions from the crowd. Some nodded in support, while others looked shocked. I felt the tension in the air. My brother's expression shifted from joy to concern. I knew I had crossed a line, but I felt empowered. I finished my toast, heart racing, and stepped back from the microphone. I had said what I needed to say. I had taken a step toward being seen. Now, I could only wait for the reaction. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. I had spoken my truth, and now it was out in the open. After my toast, the atmosphere shifted. People whispered among themselves, and I felt the weight of their gazes. My heart raced as I stepped back from the microphone. I had spoken my truth, but now I faced the consequences. I could see my brother, Mark, looking stunned. He was trying to process what had just happened. The reception continued, but I felt distant from the celebration. I could hear laughter and music, but it all felt muffled. I sat back down in the kitchen, my mind racing. I wanted to disappear, to hide from the reactions of my family. I felt vulnerable and exposed. As the night went on, people began to approach me. Some were supportive. They told me I was brave for speaking up. Others looked disappointed or confused. I felt a mix of emotions. I was glad to have shared my feelings, but I also felt isolated. Then, I saw my brother walking toward me. His face wore a serious expression. I knew this conversation would be difficult. I took a deep breath and prepared myself for what was coming. "Jamie," he said softly, "can we talk?" I nodded, my stomach twisting. We stepped out of the kitchen into a quieter hallway. The noise from the reception faded behind us. I could feel the tension in the air. "Why did you do that?" he asked, his voice low. I felt a rush of frustration. I felt like I was invisible. "You didn't acknowledge my work or our relationship. I needed you to see me." Mark sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't mean to overlook you. This wedding is so stressful for both of us. I thought I was balancing everything." I shook my head. "Balancing? I put in a lot of effort to help you plan this day. I wanted to be part of it, not just a background player." He looked away, his expression pained. "I get it, but I also had to focus on what was happening. I didn't realize how much you needed recognition." I felt a flicker of understanding. It's not just about recognition. It's about our bond as siblings. I miss that connection. The last few years have felt like a distance between us. Mark nodded slowly. "I know. It's been hard for both of us. I didn't mean for it to come to this. I thought we were okay." I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. "We need to communicate better. I want to be part of your life and support you, but I also need to feel valued." He looked at me, a hint of remorse in his eyes. I'm sorry, Jamie. I really am. I didn't see it from your perspective. I should have made more of an effort. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I appreciate that. I want us to be close again. I want you to know that I care about you and want to support your happiness. Mark nodded, his expression softening. Let's work on this. After today, I want to make a real effort to reconnect. You're important to me. I felt a smile forming. I want that too. It's not just about this wedding, it's about our relationship as brothers and sisters. We stood in the quiet hallway, a moment of understanding passing between us. I felt a sense of hope. Maybe this was the beginning of a new chapter for us. As we walked back to the reception, I could see the tension in the room. Some family members were still talking about my toast. I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. I had taken a step, and now I had to face the consequences. When we returned to the main room, I noticed that some family members were still whispering. I could feel their eyes on me. I knew I had disrupted the event. I felt nervous, but I also felt empowered. I had spoken up for myself, and now I had to stand by my words. As the evening continued, I saw my father approach me. He looked serious. I braced myself for another difficult conversation. Jamie, can we talk? He asked. I nodded, my heart racing again. We stepped to the side, away from the crowd. I heard what you said during the toast, he began. I have to say, I was surprised. I took a deep breath. I needed to express how I felt. I wanted to be recognized as part of the family, not just as a planner. He nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. I understand that now. I'm sorry if we made you feel unimportant. That was never our intention. I felt a sense of relief. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad we can talk about it. I want our family to be strong, but I also want to feel valued. My father sighed. Communication is key. We should all be more open with each other. I want to support you and acknowledge your hard work. I smiled at him. I appreciate that, Dad. I want us to be a close family again. As the night went on, I noticed small moments of connection with my family. People came up to me, some apologizing for how they reacted. Others thanked me for speaking out. I felt a shift in the atmosphere. I realized that my words had sparked conversations. People were discussing their own feelings and frustrations. It felt like a breakthrough. I looked around the room. My brother was talking to our parents, and they seemed engaged. I felt a sense of hope for our future as a family. We had a long way to go, but tonight was a step in the right direction. I knew it would take time to rebuild our relationships, but I felt lighter. I had spoken my truth, and it opened the door for understanding. I was ready to work on our bond and make it stronger. It felt like a new beginning, and I was excited for what lay ahead. The reception continued, but I felt a shift in the air. My heart was still racing from my earlier conversations. I had spoken my truth, but I was unsure how my family would react. I hoped for understanding, but I also feared judgment. As the night went on, I sat with my brother and parents at a table. We were sharing stories, and I felt the tension slowly fading. My brother Mark shared funny memories from our childhood, and I found myself laughing with him. It felt good to connect. But then came the speeches. Mark's best man got up first. He told funny stories about Mark and how he had always been there for his friends. The room laughed, and I noticed Mark's face light up. I felt a pang of jealousy. I wanted to be celebrated too. Next, it was my father's turn. He stood up with a glass in hand. I felt my stomach twist. Would he acknowledge me? Would he mention my contributions? Today is a special day, my father began. We are here to celebrate Mark and his beautiful bride. They are perfect for each other. I listened carefully, hoping he would say something about me. But as he continued, he focused entirely on Mark. He praised him for his achievements and how proud he was. I felt the knot in my stomach tighten. I tried to smile and clap along with everyone else, but inside, I felt invisible again. My father spoke at length, and I could feel my frustration building. I had put in so much effort for this wedding, but it felt like none of that mattered. When my father finished, the room erupted in applause. Mark looked pleased, and I forced a smile. But I felt a mix of disappointment and anger. I had hoped for at least a mention, a simple acknowledgement. Then, it was my turn to speak. I had planned to make my own toast, but I was hesitant now. I didn't want to overshadow the celebration, but I also couldn't ignore my feelings. I took a deep breath and stood up, feeling the eyes of the room on me again. As I walked to the microphone, I felt a wave of nerves. I looked at my family and friends gathered before me. I saw supportive faces, but I also noticed some people looking surprised. I had to be brave. "Hi, everyone," I started, my voice shaking slightly. "I just wanted to say a few words." I paused, gathering my thoughts. "I'm really happy for Mark and his new wife. They make a wonderful couple. I've seen how much love they share, and it fills my heart with joy." I saw Mark smile, and it gave me confidence. But I also want to share something important. Family is everything to me. I care deeply about all of you, and I want to feel valued within our family. I could see my father's face change as I spoke. He looked concerned, but I pressed on. I know weddings are about celebrating love, but they're also about recognizing the people who support us. I've worked hard to help plan this day, and I wish I could feel that my efforts matter. The room was silent. I could feel the tension in the air, but I needed to continue. I don't want to take away from Mark's special day. I just want us to communicate better as a family. I want us to appreciate each other more. I looked at my brother. "Mark, I love you, and I want to support you. But I also want to be seen and heard. I hope we can move forward together." As I finished, I felt vulnerable but relieved. I had spoken from my heart, and now I could only wait for their reactions. I stepped back from the microphone and sat down, my heart pounding. The room was quiet for a moment, and then I saw my father stand up. My heart raced again. Would he react negatively? Would he defend his earlier speech? "Jamie," he began, his voice steady. "Thank you for speaking up. I appreciate your honesty. You are an important part of this family, and I regret not acknowledging your efforts today." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "Thank you, Dad. That means a lot. I want us to do better," he continued. "We should recognize each other's contributions and support one another." Mark nodded in agreement. "I didn't realize how much my actions affected you, Jamie. I'm sorry for not including you in my speech. You deserve to be celebrated too." A wave of warmth spread through me. It felt good to be recognized, to feel valued. My heart swelled with hope. As the night continued, I noticed a change in the atmosphere. Family members began to approach me. Some thanked me for speaking up. Others shared their own feelings of being overlooked. It felt like my words had opened a door for honest conversations. One of my aunts came over. "Jamie, I admire your bravery. It's hard to speak your truth, but you did it. We need more of that in our family." I smiled, feeling a sense of pride. I had taken a risk, but it had paid off. I was beginning to feel a sense of belonging again. As the night came to an end, I looked around the room. My family was laughing and enjoying each other's company. I could see the connections being made, the walls starting to break down. I felt a sense of hope for our future. Yes, we had our struggles, but we were willing to work on them together. I was ready to embrace this new chapter in our family story. I left the reception that night feeling lighter. I had taken a stand for myself, and in doing so, I had opened the door for healing. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to navigate this journey with my family. Together, we could rebuild our bonds and create a stronger connection. The reception ended, but my heart was still racing. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. I had spoken my truth, but I knew that it would leave a mark on my family dynamics. As I left the venue, I could see my brother Mark talking to some guests. It was clear that my toast had stirred emotions. The next few days passed in a blur. I received messages from family members. Some were supportive, thanking me for my honesty. Others were less kind, questioning why I had chosen that moment to speak up. I felt overwhelmed. I wanted to reconnect with my family, but I also felt the weight of their reactions. I decided to reach out to Mark. I wanted to talk about what had happened. I called him and suggested we meet for coffee. He agreed, and we chose a cafe near my apartment. I hoped this conversation would help clear the air. When I arrived at the cafe, I saw Mark sitting at a table. He looked nervous but relieved to see me. I smiled and sat down. "Hey, thanks for meeting me," I said. "Of course," he replied. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said at the wedding. It's been on my mind." I nodded. "Me too. I didn't want to upset anyone, but I needed to express my feelings." "I get it," he said. "I didn't realize how much I needed to be reminded of our bond. I've been so focused on planning the wedding that I forgot to appreciate you." I felt a wave of gratitude. "I appreciate that, Mark. I want us to be close again. I miss the times when we could talk openly." He leaned back in his chair. "I think we both need to work on that. I want to make an effort to connect more. Our family needs that." We talked for hours, sharing our thoughts and feelings. Mark opened up about the pressures he faced while planning the wedding and how he felt overwhelmed. I understood now that he had not meant to exclude me. "Jamie, I'm sorry for not recognizing your hard work," he said sincerely. "I should have made you feel appreciated." I smiled. "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. I just want to feel valued, not just as your sister, but also for my work." As our conversation continued, I felt a sense of hope. We were starting to mend our relationship. It felt good to talk openly about our feelings. I realized that communication was key to rebuilding our bond. After our coffee meeting, I felt lighter. I knew that we had a long way to go, but this was a step in the right direction. I was ready to put in the effort to strengthen our connection. A few days later, I received a call from my father. He wanted to meet for lunch. I felt nervous but also hopeful. I knew we needed to talk about the events of the wedding. When we met, I could see that he looked serious. We sat down at a quiet restaurant. "Jamie," he began, "I've been reflecting on what you said at the wedding. I want to apologize for not acknowledging you." I felt a rush of emotions. "Thank you, Dad. I appreciate that. It was hard for me to speak up, but I needed you to see me." He nodded. "I understand now. I want to do better. I want to support you and recognize your contributions." I smiled, feeling encouraged. "I want that too. I want us to strengthen our family connections. We need to communicate more openly." As we talked, I felt the tension between us ease. My father shared his thoughts on family dynamics and how important it was to acknowledge each member. I agreed wholeheartedly. After lunch, I felt a sense of relief. My father and I had made progress. We were beginning to understand each other better. I knew that rebuilding our family relationships would take time, but I felt hopeful about the future. Over the next few weeks, I made an effort to reach out to other family members. I called my aunts and uncles, wanting to reconnect. I shared my feelings and listened to theirs. Some expressed their own struggles with communication within the family. It felt good to share our experiences. As I connected with them, I noticed a change. Family gatherings became more open and honest. People started sharing their feelings. It felt like a breath of fresh air. I was grateful for the opportunity to build stronger bonds. One evening, I invited Mark over for dinner. I wanted to celebrate our renewed connection. I cooked a simple meal, and as we sat down to eat, I felt a sense of warmth. "I'm glad we're doing this," Mark said. It feels good to reconnect. I nodded. It does. I want us to keep this going. Let's make it a regular thing. He agreed, and we talked about our lives, our dreams, and our family. It felt like the old days, and I cherished each moment. As the weeks turned into months, I noticed a shift in our family dynamics. We celebrated birthdays and holidays with more openness. The conversations flowed more freely. I felt a sense of belonging that I had missed for so long. I was grateful for the progress we had made. It was not just about the wedding, it was about healing and understanding. One day, I received a message from my father. He wanted to plan a family gathering to celebrate our new connections. I was excited and immediately started brainstorming ideas. As I prepared for the event, I reflected on how far we had come. I felt empowered knowing that I had played a role in bringing my family closer together. I had learned that speaking up was not easy, but it was necessary for growth. The family gathering was a success. Laughter filled the room, and everyone shared stories and memories. I felt a sense of joy as I watched my family connect. I knew that we were on a better path now. As I looked around, I realized that we had built a stronger foundation. Our relationships were evolving, and I was grateful to be a part of it. I felt proud of the progress we had made together. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them. I had learned the importance of communication and vulnerability. Together, we could continue to strengthen our family bonds. This journey was just beginning, and I was excited for what the future held. I had found my voice, and I was determined to use it to nurture the relationships I cherished. My family was important to me, and I was ready to embrace this new chapter with love and openness. After the family gathering, I felt a sense of relief. We had made progress, but I knew not everyone was on board with the changes. The wedding had stirred feelings, and I sensed some tension still lingered among family members. I wanted to ensure that we continued to move forward together. A few days later, I received a call from one of my aunts. She wanted to talk about what happened at the wedding. I felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity. I agreed to meet her at a cafe. When I arrived, she was already seated. She looked serious. "Jamie, thank you for meeting with me," she said. "I wanted to talk about your toast." I nodded, ready to listen. "Of course. I appreciate you reaching out. I admire your courage for speaking up," she continued. But some family members were upset. They felt it wasn't the right time. I felt my heart sink. I understand that. It was a big day for Mark, but I felt like I needed to express my feelings. "I get that," she replied. "But it's important to consider how others feel too. We all have our own struggles." I took a deep breath. I agree. I didn't mean to take away from the joy of the day. I just wanted to be heard. She nodded. "I appreciate your honesty. It's good to talk about these things. I think we all need to be more open with each other." We talked for a while longer, and I felt grateful for her willingness to discuss the issue. It was clear that communication was key, even when it was uncomfortable. As I left the cafe, I felt a mix of emotions. I realized that my words had affected others more than I understood. I wanted to ensure that my family felt heard too. I needed to find a way to balance my needs with theirs. The following week, I organized a family game night. I wanted to create a relaxed atmosphere where everyone could share their thoughts and feelings in a fun way. I hoped that it would strengthen our bonds. On the night of the game, I set up the living room with snacks and games. I felt excited but also nervous. Would everyone come? Would they be open to having a good time together? When my family started to arrive, I felt a wave of joy. They brought laughter and smiles into my home. I welcomed them and introduced the games. As we played, I noticed the atmosphere lighten. People began to relax and enjoy each other's company. During a break, I gathered everyone together. "I wanted to thank you all for coming tonight," I said. "I know things have been tense lately, and I appreciate you making an effort to be here." My father spoke up. Thank you, Jamie. We need more moments like this. It's important for us to connect. I smiled, feeling encouraged. I agree. I want us to support each other and share our feelings. Let's keep communicating openly. Everyone nodded in agreement, and I felt a sense of camaraderie. As the night went on, we played games and laughed together. I watched my family interact, and it filled my heart with happiness. But then, I noticed my cousin sitting quietly in the corner. She seemed withdrawn. I felt a tug of concern. I wanted her to feel included, so I walked over to her. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked gently. She looked up, surprised. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just watching." I smiled. "You should join us. We're having a great time." She hesitated but then nodded. "All right, I'll give it a try." I felt a sense of relief as she joined the group. We played team games, and I noticed her starting to smile and laugh. It felt good to see her opening up. As the night continued, I made a point to check in with everyone. I wanted to ensure that everyone felt included and valued. I asked them about their lives and shared my own experiences. It felt like a safe space for all of us. After a few hours, we took a break and sat down for snacks. I could see that the tension from the wedding had faded. People were chatting and sharing stories. I felt grateful for this moment of connection. Then, one of my aunts spoke up. "I think we should address what happened at the wedding. Jamie, your toast brought up important feelings." I felt my heart race. "I appreciate you saying that. I didn't mean to upset anyone. I just wanted to express how I felt." Another family member chimed in. "We all have our own struggles. It's important to support each other, even when it's hard to talk about." I nodded. I agree. I want us to be open with each other. It's okay to share our feelings. We spent the rest of the night discussing our feelings, our struggles, and our hopes for the future. It felt like a breakthrough. I realized that sharing our experiences brought us closer together. As the night came to an end, I felt a sense of accomplishment. We had addressed the tensions, and people seemed to feel lighter. I watched as my family left, exchanging hugs and laughter. I was proud of what we had achieved that night. I knew it would take time to heal completely, but we were on the right path. We had opened the door for honest communication. In the days that followed, I noticed a difference in our family interactions. People were more willing to share their thoughts and feelings. I felt a sense of unity that I had longed for. I realized that healing takes time, but it starts with honest conversations and a willingness to listen. I was grateful for the journey we were on together. As I reflected on everything that had happened, I felt hopeful. We were learning to navigate our relationships and rebuild our family bonds. I knew that this was just the beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. A few weeks after the game night, I received a text from Mark. He wanted to meet up and talk about how things had changed since the wedding. I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. I was eager to connect with him again, but I also worried about what he might say. We agreed to meet at a small cafe we used to visit as kids. When I arrived, I saw him sitting at a table, looking thoughtful. I waved and walked over, feeling a sense of familiarity. "Hey," I said, sitting down. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," he replied, smiling. "I've been thinking about everything that happened. I want to talk about it." I nodded, feeling a rush of anticipation. "I've been thinking too. I really appreciate how open our family has become." Mark looked relieved. "I'm glad to hear that. I've realized how important it is for us to communicate. I didn't understand how much I needed to hear your perspective." "I think we all needed that," I said. "Opening up has helped us reconnect in a way I didn't expect." He nodded, his expression serious. "I want to apologize for how I handled things at the wedding. I didn't realize how much pressure I was under affected my actions. I should have recognized your hard work." "I appreciate that," I said. It means a lot to me. I just want us to feel valued in this family. Mark sighed. Me too. I've been struggling with the idea of being the perfect son. I didn't want to let anyone down, especially not you. I felt a wave of understanding. You're not alone in that. We all have our own pressures. I think it's important for us to support each other, especially when we feel overwhelmed. He nodded, looking thoughtful. I want to do better. I want to be a brother you can rely on. I don't want to ignore our relationship anymore. Neither do I said, feeling hopeful. Let's make a pact to keep communicating. We can check in with each other regularly. Mark smiled. I'd like that. It'll help us stay connected. As we talked, I felt a sense of relief. We were discussing our feelings openly, and it felt good to be honest. I realized that this was a crucial step in rebuilding our relationship. After our coffee meeting, I felt lighter. I knew that we had made progress, but I still wanted to connect with other family members. I wanted to ensure that everyone felt included in our new approach to communication. I decided to reach out to my parents. I called them and suggested we have a family dinner. I wanted to bring everyone together again, to continue fostering our connections. When I called, my mom seemed excited. That sounds wonderful, Jamie. We'd love to come over. What should we bring? I smiled, feeling grateful for her enthusiasm. Just bring yourselves. I'll handle the food. On the night of the dinner, I prepared a simple meal of pasta and salad. I wanted it to be casual and relaxed. I set the table and lit some candles to create a warm atmosphere. When my parents arrived, they brought dessert, a homemade cake. The sight of it made me smile. It felt like a celebration. We hugged before sitting down to eat. As we enjoyed the meal, I noticed the laughter and conversation flowed easily. It felt good to be together as a family. I could see how much we all needed this connection. After dinner, I suggested we play a board game. Everyone seemed eager to join in. We laughed and joked as we played, and I felt a sense of joy. It reminded me of our family gatherings from the past. During a break, I decided to bring up the topic of communication again. You know, I think we've made a lot of progress lately, I said. I want us to keep building on this. My father nodded. I agree. It's important for us to support each other and share our feelings. We've all learned that we need to be more open. My mom added, I've noticed a change in all of us. It feels good to talk and connect. I want to make sure we keep it going. I smiled, feeling proud of our progress. Let's establish a regular family night. We can plan it once a month, just to check in with each other. Everyone agreed, and I felt a sense of accomplishment. We were taking steps to strengthen our family bonds. It felt good to know that we were all on the same page. As the evening continued, I could see the joy in everyone's faces. It felt like we were building a new foundation for our family. I was grateful for the changes we had made. Later that night, as my parents left, my mom hugged me tightly. Thank you for organizing this, Jamie. It means a lot to us. I smiled, feeling warm inside. I'm just glad we're all together. I want us to continue strengthening our relationship. After they left, I reflected on the evening. I felt a sense of hope for the future. We were learning to communicate better, and it was changing our family dynamics for the better. In the days that followed, I noticed a shift in how we interacted. Family members were more willing to share their thoughts and feelings. I felt grateful for the new openness in our family. I decided to reach out to my cousin, the one who had been quiet during the game night. I wanted to check in with her. I sent her a message inviting her to grab coffee together. When we met, she seemed surprised but happy to see me. Thanks for reaching out, Jamie. I've been feeling a bit lost lately. I felt a wave of compassion. I understand. I think we all go through those moments. I just want you to know that you're valuable to our family. She smiled, looking relieved. Thank you. I felt a bit disconnected from everyone. We spent the afternoon talking and sharing our feelings. I encouraged her to express her thoughts with the family. It felt good to support her, and I could see her gaining confidence. As we wrapped up our coffee, she thanked me. I appreciate this. I want to be more involved with the family. I smiled, feeling proud of the progress we were making together. As I left the cafe, I realized that each conversation brought us closer together. I was excited for the journey ahead. We were learning to navigate our relationships, and it felt like we were becoming a stronger family. I knew that this was just the beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. A few weeks after my coffee chat with my cousin, I felt a renewed sense of purpose in my family relationships. We had been making strides in our communication, and I wanted to keep that momentum going. I decided it was time to reach out to my brother, Mark, again. I called him and suggested we have a brother-sister day. Let's spend some time together, just the two of us, I said. We can catch up and have some fun. Sounds great, he replied. I'm looking forward to it. We decided to go hiking at a nearby trail we used to visit as kids. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. I wanted to deepen our bond, but I also knew we had some unresolved issues to discuss. On the day of our hike, the weather was perfect. The sun was shining, and the sky was clear. As we walked along the trail, I felt the familiar sense of peace that nature always brought me. I could hear the birds singing, and the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze added to the tranquility. Do you remember the last time we hiked here? Mark asked, smiling. Of course. I laughed. You fell into that muddy puddle right before we reached the top. He chuckled, shaking his head. I was so embarrassed. But it was fun. We had a blast that day. As we continued on the trail, I decided it was time to address our relationship more directly. Mark, I began, I'm really glad we're spending this time together. I've missed you. I've missed you too, he replied, his tone sincere. I want us to be closer. I think we can be, I said. But I also think we need to keep communicating openly. It's what helped us after the wedding. He nodded. I agree. I want to be there for you, and I want you to feel comfortable coming to me with anything. As we reached a scenic overlook, we stopped to take in the view. The landscape was beautiful, and I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I turned to Mark. I've been thinking about our family dynamics. I want us to be a strong support system for each other. Definitely, he said. I want to be someone you can count on. I want us to lift each other up, not just during tough times but in everyday life too. I felt hopeful. Let's make a commitment to check in regularly, whether it's through calls, texts, or even these hikes. I want to keep nurturing our relationship. Mark smiled. That sounds perfect. We can hold each other accountable. As we sat down on a bench overlooking the view, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for this moment. We were making progress, and it felt good to be open and vulnerable with each other. After a while, we continued our hike, talking about life and our dreams. I shared my goals for my event planning business, and he opened up about his career aspirations. It felt refreshing to support each other in our journeys. Later that week, I decided to reach out to other family members again. I wanted to keep the lines of communication open. I organized a family brunch at my place. I sent out a group message to everyone, and to my delight, they all responded positively. On the day of the brunch, I prepared a variety of dishes: pancakes, eggs, fruit, and coffee. I wanted everyone to feel welcomed and loved. As the time approached, I felt a wave of excitement. When my family arrived, the energy in the room was warm and inviting. We hugged and exchanged smiles. I felt a sense of belonging that I had longed for. As everyone settled down, I looked around the table. I'm so glad we could all be together today, I said. I want this to be a space where we can share our thoughts and feelings. My father nodded. I appreciate that, Jamie. It's been wonderful to see the changes in our family lately. I felt encouraged. Let's keep this going. I want us to continue supporting each other. We can create an environment where we feel safe to express ourselves. As we enjoyed breakfast, the conversation flowed naturally. People shared stories, laughter, and even some of their struggles. I felt grateful for the openness that had developed in our family. After brunch, I suggested we play a game together. We decided on charades, which brought out everyone's competitive spirit. Laughter filled the room as we acted out different clues. It felt so good to see everyone enjoying themselves. During a break in the game, I noticed my aunt looking a bit quiet. I wanted to check in with her. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. She looked up and smiled. "I'm good, just thinking. I've been reflecting on what we talked about during our last gathering." I encouraged her to share her thoughts. It's important to talk about these things. I want to hear what's on your mind. She took a deep breath. I've realized I need to be more honest with my feelings. I don't want to hold back anymore. That's great, I said, feeling proud of her. We're all in this together. It's okay to share what you're feeling. As we continued to talk, I could see my family opening up more. We were creating a safe space for everyone to express themselves. I felt a sense of unity growing among us. As the day came to an end, I felt grateful for the connections we were building. I knew we had a long way to go, but I was excited about our progress. After everyone left, I reflected on the day. I realized that fostering these relationships required continuous effort, but it was worth it. We were learning to navigate our feelings together, and I was ready to embrace every step of the journey ahead. I knew that as we continued to communicate and support each other, we would strengthen our family bonds. I felt hopeful for our future, knowing that we were all committed to being there for one another. It felt like a new beginning, and I was excited for what lay ahead. After the family brunch, I felt a sense of accomplishment. We had made significant progress in our relationships, and I was proud of how far we had come. However, I also knew that maintaining these connections would require ongoing effort. I was ready for the challenge. In the weeks that followed, I made it a point to stay connected with my family. I called my parents regularly and checked in with Mark. We even scheduled another hiking trip, which I was looking forward to. The more we communicated, the more I felt our bond strengthening. One afternoon, I received a text from my mom. She wanted to plan a family picnic at the park. I loved the idea and quickly responded with enthusiasm. That sounds great. Let's pick a weekend. We settled on a Saturday, and I offered to bring a few dishes. I spent the week preparing and packing sandwiches, salads, and snacks. I wanted to make this picnic special, a time for us to relax and enjoy each other's company. On the day of the picnic, the weather was beautiful. The sun was shining, and there was a gentle breeze. I arrived early to set up the picnic area with blankets and food. I felt excited as I arranged everything, anticipating the smiles and laughter that would soon fill the space. When my family arrived, they brought extra food and drinks. My mom had baked her famous cookies, and my dad brought a cooler filled with drinks. It felt like a mini celebration. We set everything out and sat down on the blankets together. As we ate, I looked around at my family. Everyone was chatting and laughing. I felt a wave of warmth and happiness. It was a stark contrast to how things had been just a few months ago. I knew we were moving in the right direction. After we finished eating, I suggested we play some games. We decided on Frisbee, which brought out everyone's competitive spirit. We laughed and ran around, enjoying the freedom of being outside. I felt the joy in the air, and it reminded me of our family outings from my childhood. As we played, I noticed my cousin, the one who had been quiet during previous gatherings. She was smiling and laughing, fully engaged in the fun. I felt proud of how much she had opened up in our conversations. It was clear that our efforts to create a supportive environment were paying off. After a few rounds of Frisbee, we took a break and gathered back on the blankets. I decided to bring up the topic of our family's communication once again. I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you. I feel like we're getting stronger as a family. My father nodded, a smile on his face. It's true. We've all been more open with each other, and it's refreshing. My mother added, it's important for us to keep this going. I don't want to lose the progress we've made. I agree, I said. Let's make this a regular thing. Monthly picnics or gatherings, whatever it takes to stay connected. Everyone seemed on board with the idea. We discussed potential dates and activities for our next gathering. I felt a sense of unity as we made plans. This was the foundation I had longed for in our family. As the afternoon wore on, we decided to play a few more games. We played charades and laughed until our sides hurt. I felt a sense of belonging that I had missed for so long. I realized that fostering these relationships required work, but it was rewarding. Later, as we sat on the blankets, I felt inspired to address something that had been on my mind. I've been thinking about how we can support each other not just during events but in our everyday lives too. My mom looked thoughtful. What do you mean? I think we should check in on each other more often. Just simple texts or calls to see how everyone's doing, I suggested. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but it could help us stay connected. Mark nodded. I like that idea. It would show that we care, even when we're busy. We all agreed, and it felt like a new commitment. We were not just building a stronger family for events, we were committed to being there for each other in our daily lives as well. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. I looked at my family, laughing and enjoying each other's company, and I knew we were on the right path. Later that night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the day. I felt proud of what we had achieved together. Our family was slowly healing, and I was grateful to be a part of it. I had learned that communication and connection were essential. In the days that followed, I noticed a change in our family dynamics. People were reaching out more, sending texts and checking in. It felt good to see everyone making an effort. I realized that we were building a new foundation based on support and love. One evening, I received a heartfelt message from my cousin. She thanked me for including her in our conversations and gatherings. She said it had made her feel more connected to the family. I felt a swell of pride, knowing that our efforts were making a difference. As I continued to reflect on our journey, I felt hopeful. We had faced challenges, but we were learning and growing together. I was excited to see where this journey would take us next. I knew that rebuilding relationships would take time, but I was ready to embrace the process. Together, we could navigate the ups and downs of life, creating a stronger and more supportive family. This was just the beginning, and I was eager for what lay ahead. As the weeks turned into months, I felt a profound sense of change within my family. Our monthly gatherings became a cherished tradition. Each time we came together, I noticed how our conversations grew deeper and more meaningful. We were no longer just sharing meals, we were sharing our lives. One Sunday morning, I hosted a brunch at my place again. I prepared a big spread of pancakes, eggs, and fresh fruit. As my family arrived, I felt a wave of excitement. I loved seeing everyone together, laughing and enjoying each other's company. After everyone settled down, I looked around the table. I'm really glad we could all be here today, I said. It feels good to continue this journey together. My mom smiled. It does. I appreciate all the effort you've put into these gatherings, Jamie. I agree, my dad added. It's been wonderful to see our family grow closer. As we ate, I noticed my cousin, who had once been quiet, was now actively participating in the conversation. She shared funny stories and laughed along with everyone. It warmed my heart to see her so engaged. After brunch, I suggested we play a game again. This time, we decided on Pictionary. We split into teams, and the room filled with laughter as we tried to guess each other's drawings. It felt like we were building a strong foundation, one joyful moment at a time. During a break, I gathered everyone together. I want to take a moment to reflect on how far we've come. It was tough at first, but we've created a space where everyone feels comfortable sharing. Mark nodded enthusiastically. I agree. You've helped us all feel valued and connected. I smiled, feeling proud. I think it's important for us to keep this going. Let's make it a priority to support each other in our daily lives, not just during these gatherings. My mom chimed in, let's also make sure we celebrate our achievements, big or small. It's important to recognize each other. Everyone nodded in agreement. We talked about ways to celebrate milestones in our lives, whether it was a promotion, a personal achievement, or just a good week. I felt a sense of warmth in the room, knowing we were committed to lifting each other up. As the day went on, I felt grateful for the relationships we were building. It was clear that our family was evolving. We were no longer just a group of individuals, we were becoming a community that supported and cared for one another. Later that week, I took the time to reflect on my own achievements as well. My event planning business had started to thrive. I had gained new clients, and my confidence was growing. I felt proud of the progress I had made. I decided to create a small celebration for my business milestones, inviting the same family members who had supported me through my journey. I wanted them to see how their encouragement had made a difference in my life. When the day arrived, I set up my apartment with decorations and snacks. I wanted it to feel festive. As my family arrived, I could see their curiosity. Surprise! I said, smiling. I wanted to celebrate my recent achievements in my business. Thank you all for being such a strong support system. Everyone clapped and cheered, and I felt a rush of gratitude. I shared my journey, highlighting the challenges I faced and the victories I had achieved. It felt good to be open about my progress. After my speech, my dad stood up. We're so proud of you, Jamie. Your hard work and dedication have truly paid off. My mom added, you inspire us all to pursue our dreams. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Tears welled up in my eyes. Hearing their words meant so much to me. I felt a deep sense of connection in that moment, knowing we were all proud of each other's successes. After the speeches, we played games and enjoyed each other's company. I felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that we were creating lasting memories together. As the night came to an end, I reflected on how far we had come as a family. We had faced challenges, but we had also embraced the power of communication and support. I had learned that family is defined not just by blood, but by love and respect. In the days following the celebration, I received messages from family members expressing their pride in me. They shared their own achievements and how they were inspired to pursue their goals. It felt like we were all pushing each other to be better. I realized that this journey was ongoing. We would continue to face challenges, but we were committed to supporting each other. I was grateful for the bonds we had created, and I looked forward to what the future held. As I lay in bed one night, I thought about everything we had achieved together. I knew that establishing open communication and support within our family was just the beginning. We had created a strong foundation, and I was excited to see how we would continue to grow. If you're reading this and facing similar challenges, know that you're not alone. Building strong family relationships takes time and effort, but it's worth it. Open communication can create a safe space for everyone. I felt empowered by our journey, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. Family is a journey, and I was grateful to have my loved ones by my side as we navigated it together. This was just the beginning of our story, and I was eager to see where it would take us. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.